Keep messing around with all the controls.
Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. It's Tisha and Nate, and this Casual Convo Friday. And we've got our special hot seat guest, TJ Castning. He is the owner of Ambassador Search Group out of Idaho. And then, of course, Nate out of Georgia and myself out of Arizona. Welcome to the show, TJ. Nice to
Thanks for
have you
having me.
this Friday.
Pleased
Well,
to
we're
be
going
here.
to jump right in. We have just a great topic that we want to bring to the surface, and it's going to be an interesting debate, I would say, because there are three of us with totally different perspectives. I think they'll kind of mesh here and there, but we're talking about self-promotion, self-promotion. And this just came about. I was like, we should talk about this topic. I think there's so many different turns and twists we can take. But I'm going to share a little bit. Like, I'm a business owner, so self-promotion is a necessary. It's like a necessary evil, and it's still something that I struggle with day in and day out. Nate, how about you? Self promotion?
Oh, I mean, that's one of those things. I love to hear myself talk, but sometimes I don't necessarily put myself out there all the time. So it's kind of a up and down, ebb and flow.
Ebb and flow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And T, how about you?
Yeah, it's been something I've been working on more and trying to figure out my own parameters of what's authentic and what's, too optimistic about myself. And I think there's a lot to explore here.
Yes. Okay. So why don't we get on with the exploration? If you are tuning in live, then make sure to shoot us a comment so we can respond right away. Nate is the keyboard guru,
Yeah.
responding kind of for both of us. But I'm excited to get this topic going. So self-promotion, I struggle with this a lot. I think that for a long time I had different businesses, different entities, and I would always like to hide behind those entities. I never wanted to have it be my my name per se, like for a business, because I felt like, oh my gosh, now I'm front and center. What if I this? What if I this? And ultimately your reputation is on the line. But as you both know, and TJ, I looked at your profile a little bit on LinkedIn. You're the owner of this, but you've had multiple entrepreneurial experiences too. It looks like in the leather industry,
Yeah,
right? So,
a little
which you
random, isn't
sold.
it?
I'm like, from leather to recruiting. Here we go. But I know that like we're always having to put ourselves out there, especially on social media, which I've shared multiple times is really a love-hate relationship, but been forced to just go with it because you can't afford not to. And sometimes I question, like, am I putting something out there that's really more like Tish is this or Tish is the best or whatever? And I'm trying to refrain from thinking that way and instead thinking, hey, if I can put something out that makes someone's day or adds value to their day, then to me that's not self-promotion. It's really more, spreading the love, the kindness, the value. That's the way I view it anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of like a double edged sword for everybody. Is what are you doing that's too much or too little? You kind of have to do everything, and I imagine TJ has it even worse than everybody because he has to be that entrepreneurial type person to get his business up and going. But at the same time, he has to watch about how it affects his job and everything. Mine is kind of easy. For the more I talk, the more people get intrigued because they generally don't know about the stuff that I'm talking about. So it's just one of those. How much are you willing to do, and how much of a response is it getting? I think is the biggest or the best way to gauge how effective it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my experience with it, I think you're right. So it has been challenging to figure out self-promotion in recruiting, and one of the reasons is it's ridiculously complicated because you're working with people and people are very different, and you're like, this is tremendously life impacting, changing careers and changing companies, and it's a really significant privilege to be involved in people's life to this degree. And people are radically different. Their priorities are different, their motivations, their backgrounds, their preferences. And there's a great recruiter who called recruiting a self-development process disguised as a career, and I think that's very true. As a lot of sales types positions is, recruiting is in some sense sales, but it's also like consulting. Like your job is to improve the candidate's condition and the client's condition, and not worry about your own interest, right? This is about improving other people's lives. And so when you think about self-promotion, when I consider that what that looks like, it's, I can't go out there and say that I know everything about recruiting or people, because I don't, and I'm constantly learning. Like this is a vast field, right? And our firm is 3 years old, right? So I think we do a great job, and we work really hard, and we try to be intensely competent. But part of, in my mind, staying on that path of competence and growing that competence is also maintaining the humility to say, I don't know. And that's where the next level of learning comes, is when I recognize, like, I don't know this. I haven't arrived. And I've gotten a little bit of helpful, good feedback from the people that I work with in this, because turns out they haven't arrived either, and they haven't figured it out, right? And people are just as challenging from their perspective as it is from mine. And turns out I'm actually just as challenging to figure out for myself, and everybody has that same challenge. So I found the self-promotion angle to be more about the process of learning how to be authentic as a leader, as a flawed individual. And if I can meet other people, whether it's through LinkedIn or some medium, that are also on that same journey of discovering their flaws and working on them and growing together, investing in one another, then that's what I think of when I think about self-promotion. I want to promote our services out there to go serve our clients, but at the same time, if our clients can teach us something, I want to learn everything that I possibly can.
I think it's so important to always go in it with, I'm going to learn, like I'm a lifelong learner. I've posted this several times before. Like, I don't pretend to know every little thing. Nobody can. There's no way you can. So I think that you shared this before, like being optimistic and knowing where you're flawed and where you can ask for help. I don't think that's a sign of weakness. I actually think that's a sign of strength, because most people, there are some people that can't come to that. They can't come to that just even saying, I really need help with this. So I don't know, like self-promotion, I think where I'm coming from is because I am more of a personal brand, that's something that I've had to really get over, to say, okay, I'm just going to put, you said it even TJ earlier about being authentic. That is so huge for me, that when you come out, you're as authentic as you can be. You talk about your imperfections. Like, I got up on LinkedIn and sang to the world yesterday with my daughter.
That was great.
I sang "All You Need Is Love" by the Beatles. But there's a great message about, hey, a lot of us are so tied to our business too. And you might have seen that post, TJ, that I said we can't see what we don't see. Yeah. So when you bring an outside perspective, typically I can say, TJ, here's where maybe you're falling short, or this is what I'm hearing and seeing. Maybe you want to try this differently. That's huge for people. People need to see that too, because sometimes we just get stuck in our own ways. So I think the way that I'm doing it is, I'm just going to come out, and my whole purpose is I want to help you. I want to move you out of that stuck phase and keep you progressing. And this is how I choose to do it, through showcasing it through personal brand and just fun, energy, enthusiasm. And it's gotten so much more seamless over the years versus before I was like, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be on social media. I don't want to talk about what I do. I don't want to share it. But I know a lot of us are, like, I'm doing a lot of webinars and things like that. And it's like, what if I don't share that? What if I don't talk about it? What if I just keep it to myself? Is that selfish of me? Or would you construe that as this is self-promotion? No, I think it's more, I'm sharing a valuable resource with you. And I know, Nate, you're doing that a lot right now too, where you're helping people with their processes and systems.
Yeah.
Especially now.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing is like, is it still self-promotion? Yes. Everything that you're putting out there is self-promotion, or it's promoting your company, or both. But like, if it's adding value to it, then, I feel like that's okay. At the end of the day, if you're helping somebody out with a problem, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, or you help them get over the hump and start doing their own thing, or whatever the case may be, that's the positive side of it. The negative side of it, I think, is just where it's like the air horn blasting of promotion. You know what I mean? Where it's just throwing stuff out there, but it doesn't matter. It's just not doing anything. It's not helping anything. It's just being a loudmouth and being in everybody's ear kind of thing. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but that's kind of like where I try to draw the line is like, where does the value start and stop?
That's good. Yeah. Where does value stop? I always share this when I do talks. Neil Patel, who is kind of a guru with Google, SEO, probably heard of him. TJ, maybe you have too, but he shared that when you're posting, you should post with intention, value, and strategy. Every single time you post something, intention, value, strategy. And I think it really should be more about the engagement too.
Oh yeah.
Now I'm gonna let you in on a little hack that I'm using on LinkedIn. So there's on your profile, it says you can add your experiences, right? So you can keep adding experiences. You can choose to share it with your network, or you can choose to keep it just hidden and just for you, but it's still on your profile. Well, my girlfriend Desiree, I'm going to plug her. She's hosting this whole Digital Inspiration Summit coming up next week. And it's a free event. It's really to help people, entrepreneurs who maybe have a brick and mortar, but they need to move into the online world. Like they need to. Kind of a detriment if they don't. And so I said to her, I said, when you made me this keynote speaker for this talk, I put it on my LinkedIn profile as a new experience that I have, which blasted out to all of my network. So immediately I got the congrats on the new role, all of these things. But I said, Desiree, it was doing two things. It was letting people know that I'm keynote speaking, which I love. Like that's something that I get such a high off of, but it was also promoting your event. So now the people that are responding, I'm able to say, hey, great, thanks so much. You should really register for this or share this if you know other people that could really benefit from this free event. So a little bit of self-promotion, but more value added of, okay, so thank you. Here's the next step if you want to register for this event.
Yeah. TJ, I'd like to know, I know you touched base on a little bit, but like, what is too much self-promotion for you when you're looking at candidates? Because like that's a big thing. LinkedIn is not necessarily everybody's an entrepreneur. There's a lot of people there, and even on Facebook and everywhere else now, they're still just trying to carve out a career for themselves. They have no desire to be an entrepreneur. So what's too much self-promotion in your eyes, if any at all, is okay?
Yeah, that's a good question. Interesting. So you might think I like seeing a LinkedIn profile that's all built out, super professional profile photo. They've got all their titles, responsibilities, KPIs, all that stuff. And that stuff's good, but what you find is a lot of those really built out LinkedIn profiles are people who are just really, really ambitious, which is good, right? But oftentimes there's a certain self-centeredness to those profiles that is actually not real helpful to a good long-term career. And so what I've found, and you notice these trends after you talk to 10,000 people, 10,000 candidates, is people who have their head down and their LinkedIn profile isn't updated and they don't have all of their stuff on there are usually the higher performers, the people who are not busy self-promoting. They're busy contributing. They're busy adding value. They're busy being a team player. Those are the people that are typically the game changers that I hunt for. And we've kind of implemented a little bit of a doctrine or philosophy in our own marketing is we want ultimately our value that we bring to our candidates and our clients to be not through self-promotion, but through value. So we'd rather grow through referrals from people really happy with our work than somebody, seeing a LinkedIn post or what have you. And that's just a personal decision to always use pressure to help make us grow our firm, right? Because if we want to grow, it's like, okay, well, we need to bring more value. We want to be more productive to these candidates and to our clients. So maybe a roundabout answer to your question, but I like people who actually aren't interested in promoting themselves. They're interested giving, not being perceived a certain way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. What do you guys think about when people are very engaged on social media? Do you look at like whether it's you recruiting or whether it's you're looking for like fellow speakers and engagement stuff like that? Like, are you looking for the amount that they're going, or are you looking for like the quality of the conversations they're having? Like, how in depth do y'all go in just like researching their activity, like their day-to-day activity online?
That's a good question.
Well,
Tisha, do you want to go with that one?
I'm like, that's kind of loaded question. You know, I am of the mindset that every time I put a piece of content out, the right people are supposed to see it and like it or engage. And I shared this with you, TJ. I don't know if you saw the post. It was a couple of weeks ago. My daughter missed her talent show because of the coronavirus. And I still get people liking that post and commenting. And I posted a video of her singing. And it just globally, like overnight, over the week, just huge numbers. And I feel like a lot of those people are the people that I want to connect with. So it's like casting the net out and seeing who's responding, right? And then furthering the conversation. It's just like TJ. I mean, T, you were asking how Nate and I met. Well, you and I met kind of in a similar way. Like, you were looking to get on more podcasts, right? And I said, well, my podcast is local, but hey, you're in luck. Nate and I are doing this whole live stream on Fridays, and that might be something you're interested in. So I just, you know, I don't know. I guess here's my thing, and I'd love to bring this to the surface too, is I see a lot of people, and we've talked about this on another Casual Convo Friday with Ashley Bright about the whole quality versus quantity mentality. And I've always been of this, I'd rather have really good people in my life than just the masses. And I don't know if that's the wrong way to look at it, but I don't need everybody in my corner. I need really good people in my corner. So I don't know. I guess I am not of this, let's just build my profile and accept everybody that comes through the gate without having any kind of a relationship or a conversation with them. So I probably didn't even answer your question, Nate.
No, I mean, it's okay. You know, I mean, that's the thing.
That
Like,
was just kind of a, woo, here we go. This is what it is.
yeah, no, I mean,
TJ put me on the spot.
no, I mean, you know, I was just curious because I know when I'm looking to grow my network, right? When I'm looking to make connections, like I'll hop on Sales Navigator and I'll start prospecting around. And it sounds very salesy, but the reality of it is, it's just the easiest tool that I have to be efficient about the process. But I really comb through people's activity feeds. Like, that's what I target. You know, it's like, if they're not active, it's not going to do me any good to have conversations with these people. Like, they have to be active, and they have to be doing more than, because like I'll look at somebody's activity feed, and if I see the word agree as a post and that's it, I automatically like disqualify them. Like, that's just like, if I agree and then they stop there. You know, they don't elaborate on it. Like, why do you agree? Do you agree in some parts but not everything? You know, stuff like that. That automatically just makes me think, I don't want to have anything to do with you. You're not going to be a conversationalist. Like, I'm looking to expand, you know, both my knowledge, their knowledge, and, you know, everybody. So that's just me personally. Now, TJ, you may be totally different. It seems like you like less activity, but I'm curious to find out.
Well, you know, I never thought about it. That's a good question. And you might be surprised to hear that as a recruiter. You know, a recruiter not really paying attention too much to people's social media. I find a lot more insight and value into the conversation that I have with people. So, you know, unless I saw something egregious on somebody's social media, I really don't care about it too much, because at least from a candidacy perspective, it's a fairly shallow metric. And what I want to know is, you know, if they tell me I made this jump from this company to this company, I want to know why and how'd that process go, and how'd you, you know, communicate to the leadership involved, and how'd you communicate to the people that you're leading, and like, I want to know them, right? And it's hard to get that with social media, but what I really do pay attention to, I realize from your question, is I really pay attention to clients, what clients post and what they comment and what they like, because like I said, we really want to work with great leaders. And what does the contribution to a conversation look like? Is it just sort of this raw, blatant form of self-promotion, or is it a real, you got these people who say they're thought leaders, but real thought leaders, I don't know. I suspect that real thought leaders don't really think of themselves as thought leaders because they're too busy really thinking. They're too busy being influential to say that they're influential in this way. But you get insight into like where's somebody's mind at, what kind of problems are they thinking about, and so I'll see that on a post and I'll go hunt somebody down and go try to talk to them, because it's like, hey, you're putting good content out there, good thoughts. Obviously, you're working on some really neat problems, and whether or not we get to work together may be another matter. But at the very least, let's be allies. Let's be friends. Let's learn from each other.
So a good friend of mine, Aisha Cogburn, you mentioned two of the words, but she said, when you're building your personal brand, do you want to be known as an influencer, an expert, or a thought leader? And I remember she was asking my friend Misty, who we've had on this Casual Convo Friday too, and she's like, that was a tough one for me to answer. I same here with me. I'm like, I guess if I had to choose one, I would say I want to be known as a thought leader, someone who comes up with ideas and goes with it and leads and brings the right people. Like that's what I want to be known for. So I think it's great that you asked that question, or you're trying to find people who resemble that trait that you're looking for. Because we've talked about this even before we jumped on live about leadership skills. And like the best leaders kind of own up to their faults. They take ownership of where they fall short and, are willing to ask for help. And I mean, that would be the type of candidate I would want.
Yep. And to your point about thought leadership, I don't mean to denigrate anybody that's
TJ,
busy
I think
being
you
a
lost your voice.
Uh-oh. Really?
You might be on mute.
I think you're good. I hear you.
Oh.
Or is it
Technology problems?
I think it's her.
Oh. Oh no. This is good. We're getting the kinks
you
worked out
hear
here.
each other?
Yeah,
Yep.
good. You're all
yeah, it's an internet problem.
But go ahead.
Okay,
Steve. You're good.
well, what Tisha just said about thought leadership is really important, and I don't want to denigrate anybody that's busy being a thought leader.
Mm-hmm.
Like we need people who are busy thinking and sharing thoughts, but it's a little bit like it's like a leader declaring themselves, I'm a great leader, or a humble person declaring themselves they're a humble person. It's like there's just something distinctly not humble about declaring yourself humble, or the great leader is a great servant, and so not busy making themselves look good. They're busy serving other people, and that's a tricky thing, because I can tell you, like, if you look at the great management contributors like Jim Collins or Peter Drucker, I mean, these guys have contributed immense amounts of thought leadership and have done so intentionally and to the betterment of the world and leaders all around the world. And so, we need people striving at those goals and focusing on contributing at that really, really high level. At the same time, I don't think you find Peter Drucker calling himself a thought leader. If you have to call yourself a thought leader, it's like,
yeah,
keep trying.
Well, if you have to call yourself, it's kind of like, are you really that? If you're the one that has to say it. I mean, obviously we have job titles and stuff, but I'm just saying, like, if you want to be a leader, or I don't feel like you can say, well, I'm the best singer, I'm the foregoing expert on it, or whatever. It's kind of hard. I think it's almost you just gotta let your actions speak louder than your words, kind of thing, obviously. But no, I'm with you.
It's a vulnerable place to be, too, like tactically speaking, if because I was just looking at somebody's profile the other day and they said, I'm the best at this thing.
Yeah.
Literally, they said they're the best. And it's like, wow, it's a bold claim. And I was looking through his material and it's all about engagement, employee stuff. And I love his stuff. And we're going to talk on Monday, and tons of great material and content. But man, saying that you're the best, better not be any chinks in that armor. That's a high bar to live up to.
Yeah. I got one more question for you. Do you like to see things? One of the big things that we've been working on with a lot of our clients is basically employees making sure that they're online and social media, and it kind of works for a lot of different purposes. But in essence, they're being handed, like LinkedIn actually has it where you can suggest content to your employees to share, talk about, and engage on, things like that. And then you have like the intranets that we set up for people that are having content shared back and forth, to help each other out, highlight good employees, things like that. When you see people doing that, does that kind of, pop up a warning light for you that, hey, like this person would be very good to kind of pay attention to and look at possibly recruiting them? Like, is that a positive for you? Or because I know, like I said, it seems like you kind of want to stay away from the activity a little bit, but does that kind of entice you a little bit?
Well, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't encourage anybody to not be on LinkedIn or to not contribute at all. Like, for every rule in recruiting, there's like 10,000 reasons you should break the rule. It's so to anybody listening to this, I mean, be on LinkedIn, contribute. Don't take my word for it. I've just noticed this trend where good candidates, typically busy working, but there's a lot of great leadership-oriented candidates who are on LinkedIn and are contributing good stuff. So just to make that a little bit more clear.
Yeah.
But I'm not entirely sure I understand your question about the companies putting this material out and how that would affect somebody's candidacy.
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily that it may or may not affect it. I was just trying to give examples of, do you like the fact that they're buying into their company's culture, I guess you'd say.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people that won't do that, right? Like you've seen tons of companies, like pick any Fortune 500 company, any well-known blue chip type of company, and they'll have maybe 10,000 employees, 100,000 employees, whatever the case may be. But you may only see like a 2% of that company profile actually sharing the stuff that I know that they're pushing out to them, because I've helped set it up for some of those companies before. So, just saying, like, them buying into their own company stuff, obviously, I feel like that's a positive in most places. Some people may not. It just kind of depends on what side you're looking for there. But I was just curious how you felt about it.
What I like to see is people who are proud to work at a place, a certain, wherever their employer is, they're proud to work there. They want to perpetuate the culture, and whether or not they're a leader in hierarchy, they're demonstrating leadership as a person and trying to perpetuate the vision of the company. Because all of my clients need great team players. They need people who can identify on culture and strategy more than just perfunctory roles, right? Because being a part of a company is just so much more than just performing an activity for the company. It's like, if you really take it seriously, you're a member of a team, and you're in a way responsible, to the degree that you accept that responsibility, for perpetuating this vision for what the owner or the manager thinks is good and right. And so sometimes we run into candidates who, there's obviously a disconnect in the culture, and sometimes, ironically, if that person's worked there for a long time and they're dissatisfied with the culture, that can say something negative about the candidate's ability to lead, to contribute, to leave a culture that they don't identify with. Maybe they're not taking as much personal ownership as they should. There's an opportunity there. And so we coach a lot around seeing an opportunity in a company to be a leader, perpetuate the vision, and only be involved with a company that you want to perpetuate the vision in. So, whether or not somebody's reposting company stuff may or may not be an indicator of that, but it's a massive indicator as to whether or not somebody can be a game-changing, contributor to a team that I would want to represent.
I got you. Well, I think we've covered just about everything we can cover today. We've done our little half hour here, and my co-host is having more technical difficulties as always. But we'll figure it out. TJ, it's been great talking to you, man. We really learned quite a bit. I like getting the insight of how recruiters look at things, because it's a side of the it's a perspective that a lot of people just don't quite take into account. But I appreciate your time and appreciate you offering up your insight, and we would love to have you back on at some other point and talk about another topic.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's a privilege to be able to share.
Sure, no problem. All right, y'all. Y'all have a great weekend and stay safe out there, and we'll see you next Friday. Thanks.